On the night of May 4th, 2007, a large tornado, a full 1.6 miles wide, cut a path through Kiowa County, Kansas, destroying the town of Greensburg, population 1,600. MESO was 1 to 2 miles away from the town when the tornado went through, much closer to it than we care to think about. This is the series of events that led to us being in Greensburg during and after the first EF5 tornado in history. We went into the 2007 storm season wishing to enhance our photo and video library for our safety presentations, and we had invested quite a bit in this. We were aware that we had a very limited window of opportunity to accomplish this in. We had to each day pursue our best opportunity. Since we had met in Kansas City on April 28th, we had gone a couple hundred miles to the north. Nothing. We had gone nearly 1,000 miles to the south, still nothing. We had to get on the storms. The clock was ticking and our coffers were draining. May 4th, though, we were lit. Conditions were perfect for tornadic development. We staked ourselves out on a road in a spot where visibility was great and waited for the show to begin. But nothing happened. Hopelessly blue sunny skies prevailed. We were amazed to have to call this day a bust, and we were really depressed headed back to Dodge City without so much as a lightning strike on film. However, on the way home, a storm cell popped up ahead of us. Then another. We turned on our radar program and were able to determine that there was a huge storm developing just southwest of Greensburg, Kansas. We were instantly back in chase mode and headed for that cell. Even after we learned that the storm was tornadic, we thought it would be a simple task to wait for it to pass across the highway in front of us and continue to perhaps pick up some good photos of the tornado backlit by lightning from a few miles away. This will call for what is known as core punching, a skirting through the dangerous portion of the storm to gain positional advantage ultimately. Other chasers, friends of ours, who were south of the storm, reported via cell phone that a large wedge tornado had indeed crossed the highway ahead of us and was headed directly for Greensburg. We couldn't see it due to the strong winds and blowing rain and hail. Our friends, on learning our plans, frantically radioed back, begging us to stay put. This is not, they said, a storm to core punch. We discussed as a group whether to move ahead or to stay put. Staying put would be the safe choice, as the tornado was headed northeast, away from us, or so we thought. We pulled over to discuss our options, all the while wondering why the winds seemed to be increasing instead of decreasing. We were not too concerned with the branches blowing across the road ahead, but when the debris field started to show us tree limbs and pieces of houses, our concern grew. Something was drastically wrong. Staying put suddenly seemed like it was somehow wrong, and we gritted our teeth and continued further south, hoping to further our distance between ourselves and the storm. We had not punched the core, but apparently it had punched us. When we decided to chase that storm into the night, we made a decision to take a calculated risk, and in retrospect, none of us would ever make that decision again. We were extremely lucky. It was actually days after the event that we were made aware of the official track of the tornado. It did make the whole thing come together for us more. As you can see, the tornado had changed paths and was headed right for us. That would certainly explain the increased winds. The upper right-hand picture shows our southern trek, the small white rectangle being our fleet. The lower right-hand picture shows where we ended up. The picture on the left shows the path of the Greensburg tornado. Had we lingered a little longer on our southern trek, this story would have had a much different ending. Staying put when we stayed put was a good decision. Moving south when we did was also a good decision. Being on that road at all at that particular time was not a good decision. At a point, we became aware that there was something a whole lot more evil in that storm than we were prepared to deal with. Did we do a wise thing chasing into the night? Not at all. Night chasing, when you weigh potential risk against possible gain, is never a good transaction. We got suckered in by what we thought was a golden opportunity after an abysmally disappointing day. We learned a lot from this. We learned that A, we're not immortal. These things can hurt us. B, we can't keep pushing the outside of the envelope. We have to tamp down some of that zeal that tends to rob oxygen from our brains and realize that photos and footage are not worth dying for. And C, tornadoes do not feel contractually bound to follow their projected paths. We are neither proud or ashamed of what we did. It happened. The only pride involved here was how we handled it when we realized we were in a fix, and how we worked together calmly, sensibly, and intelligently, combining what we knew with what we saw. There was no panic, no hysterics, just a well, now what attitude that has served us well in times past. We were in a bad situation, and we did the best we could. One look at the path of that tornado is proof enough to us that God was with us and guided our steps. I guess he knew we'd be needed in Greensburg, and gave us our much-needed get-out-of-jail-free card. We were all breathing a lot easier as we got to the safety of the intersection. 2 police cars, though, raced by us into Greensburg, which was about a mile behind us. We knew something had to be up, and pulled over to ask a firefighter who was at the side of the road using his radio. He explained to us that the town of Greensburg had been hard hit. After quickly explaining who we were, he personally escorted us into Greensburg. I imagine he's still scratching his head, wondering how a group of people with meteorologists, firefighters, photographers, and EMTs just happened to be equipped with 2 mobile threat nets, radios, walkie-talkies, 2 trauma packs, and an AED unit, just happened to be 1 mile from where we were needed more than any other place in the world.